Hey, just found your husband watching porn and masturbating? I'm Dr. Trish Lee. I can help you out. In this video, I want to share 3 main things that you need to know on a porn brain rewire recovery journey. And if you're brand new to all of this, it can be completely overwhelming. So here's what I want to share with you today. It's not your husband's fault, but it is his responsibility, and I'm going to tell you what that looks like. Number 2, your journey is a different one than his, and I'm going to share with you why. And then number 3 is a clear path forward that will help both of you and will give you the greatest likelihood of being able to heal your coupleship. Okay, so let's start with number 1. It's not his fault, but it is his responsibility. What I mean by that is most men found porn when they were very young, when they were children, adolescents. And what happens then is that the seeds of addiction are planted. And literally, in the moment that porn was discovered, it changed the way that his brain would develop forever. And the seeds of addiction, when watered, what it does is it makes that person's brain go back to porn and possibly eventually escalate to other behaviors like infidelity or webcam, or there's so many things out there I don't even want to tell you about them because I wish I didn't know about them, if you know what I mean. But there's many ways that the brain can escalate and need more than just viewing these sexual acts. Now there's escalation into partaking, into experiencing what they viewed in porn. It's an escalation behavior that comes from the watering of the seeds. So when I work with men, I tell them it's not your fault, but this is your responsibility. This is your duty to get this out of your life for you. It is literally stifling your man's full potential. It shows up in work, relationships, motivation, parenting. It shows up everywhere. So the clear path forward will be given to you in number 3. But what I want you to know is that this is a porn brain rewire journey. This is a brain thing. It's not a choice. So we know it's a compulsion. We know it's hypersexuality. In the International Classification of Diseases, the most recent version of it, it is considered a compulsive sexual behavior disorder. Disorder to me means disorder in the brain, not order, dysregulation of the brain. And we know now from lots of science that addiction and sex addiction and porn addiction are neurological issues. They're driven by the brain from those seeds of addiction. So it's not his fault because he discovered it when his brain was so young. It didn't know what to do with this super normal stimulus of porn, and it changed the way that the brain went after dopamine. Now all the dopamine's in the screen and in sex, none of the dopamine's in his life where it should be. Dopamine's the pleasure-seeking neurochemical, which it leads us to seek pleasure in our life with serotonin, happiness in our life, oxytocin, connection in our life. That is not the way that your husband's brain is operating if he is struggling with pornography. Now, pornography, after the seeds of addiction and watering, it tends to be frequency, consistency, and intensity. And if your man's at a place where there's intensity of all the different genres of porn that are out there, that means his brain needs the dopamine from the screen. So now let's move to number 2, and then we'll get to 3, the clear path forward. But number 2 is what's going on with you. Well, it's called Discovery Day, D-Day. And for me, that's the day when your brain exploded because the relationship you thought you had is not at all true. You have a different relationship because much of it was kept secret from you. Men keep that aspect of their life secret as a defense mechanism. It brings so much shame that they need these behaviors that, again, it's not really his fault. Yes, he has to own those behaviors, but it's a defense mechanism. And when you find out, it's called betrayal trauma. Now, what betrayal is when you learn of something that you didn't know was true. You're betrayed by the dishonesty of what you thought you had in your life. And that's where betrayal comes from. It's disillusionment because the life you're leading actually was an illusion. And now there's disillusionment, which necessitates the grieving process and coming to terms with the reality that you have. But here's what I'm here to tell you is that if your husband and you take those journeys, those separate journeys, not only will you be better off for it, he'll definitely be way better off for it. And your relationship's going to be better than ever. That's the lemonade you can squeeze out of the lemons that you have been served right now. All right, so let's get to number 3, the clear path forward. I offer a 90-day program for men. It has everything in it that he needs to succeed in leaving sexual behaviors and hypersexuality behind. It's called the 90-Day Complete Essential Guide. It's at drtrishlee.com. I'll put the link down below. And in that program, you can see how there's an unwire, rewire, and hardwire phase. So he has to figure out how to stay out of the screen and stay away from the sexual behaviors that have become that end all and be all for all the dopamine to him. Then he has to rewire his brain to the healthy version, the version he may never have experienced at this point if he found porn when he was young. It's going to develop his brain into the full potential brain that it could have and should have been. That's in the rewire section. In the hardwire section, he figures out how to create the life of integrity that feeds his soul forever. And when he has the life that's giving him the happiness trifecta of dopamine, pleasure, serotonin, happiness, and oxytocin connection, when he has all that in his life, he'll never need porn or sexual acting out again. That is how it works. All of that is in the 90-day program. Plus, when he signs up, he should absolutely sign up for the accountability coaching group that meets every other week. Keep him accountable to using the strategies and to staying the course away from the behaviors that are trying to bring him back. Also, in that program, I use brain training, technology. I help people heal their brains using advanced neuroscience and technology. It's different from other programs. So when he gets into the program, he can purchase the technology. It's a low investment, usually. You purchase it through the manufacturer, and it literally will start rewiring his brain for him. This is a difference maker, a no-brainer, pun intended. But this way he can start training his brain, and then he can be successful at using the behavioral strategies for the rewire. It is your greatest chance at success for him. He needs to choose that for himself, but you can encourage him by setting a boundary. The boundary is you need to get into a program that's going to heal your brain, or I'm going to do this. I'm going to leave. I'm going to sleep in the other bedroom. I'm not going to interact with you. Now, this leads me to you. There's a program called Sanity After Betrayal. You can get there from drtrishlee.com under the Partner Recovery tab under Porn Brain Rewire, or it also is housed on its own website, sanityafterbetrayal.com. In that program, I talk to you as a partner. Your journey's different. It's not the same as his. This disillusionment is you thought you had this one life together. You don't. You have separate lives that crisscross, and they should crisscross in a really beautiful way, not a painful way. So when you figure it out, you have separate lives, and you can encourage and support him when he figures his out, and he will learn to encourage and support you while you figure yours out. That is the best chance to heal yourself in your coupleship. So get into Sanity After Betrayal. He gets into the 90-day program. If you want to meet with me personally, I offer brain assessments, again, at drtrishlee.com. I can see what his brain is doing, which becomes a really, really important way to make sure his brain has healed through his journey. A lot of people choose to get an initial baseline brain assessment so we can see that dysregulated brain pattern in there. As his brain heals, we can see that too. I also offer that for partners. I can see that betrayal trauma pattern, and I can help you in healing your brain too. But get started in the digital programs. It's the first step. You need to know what the journey looks like for yourself, and you need your man to be on his journey. But remember, you can't make him go on his journey. All you can do is encourage him to get on his journey through healthy boundaries. Okay, please go to drtrishlee.com. Don't stay in this space too long. It only gets worse unless you start dealing with it. I call it planned ignoring because I know how it goes. You just want to look the other way and pretend all this isn't happening. But if you approach it and you engage with it and you stay sane while you're doing it, it can end up being the best thing for your relationship ever. I know, totally cliche, but at the same time, totally true. Okay, stay sane, my friend, and I hope to see you in the program.